My name is Jennifer Kudua. I'm a co-founder and the Chief Marketing Officer for Foodlocker.com.ng. Foodlocker uses deep learning and operations to enable African food businesses procure efficiently from smallholder farmers and consumer goods companies. We have come up with a model. We use the LSTM model and the CNN model. This helps us forecast the demand of a customer. So when we have this, we pass this demand information to our smallholder farmers. Currently, we have over 600 smallholder farmers, which is in our clusters, and then we tell them the specifications, because for us, it's one thing for a farmer to produce. It's another different thing to produce to the specific requirements of a consumer or of a customer. So we are saddled with the responsibility to make sure that they get the accurate requirements the customer wants. It's not really something someone can describe, but it's like you're hoping for something and the thing comes in reality. Then your ear hears something else. I can't really explain it right now, but I felt like at last.
My name is Femi Aiki. I'm from Nigeria. I'm the CEO of Foodlocker in Nigeria. And so basically, Foodlocker is a farm produce and consumer goods aggregator that supports smallholder farmers to scale their businesses while selling to large buyers.
Hello, Femi. You know what? Can I just tell you how much I love technology? Because I can talk to my friends all over the world, and I love them in Nigeria right now. Yes.
Yeah.
Femi, tell me how you started. How did this idea come to be? What is your background, and why did this company? Well, how did this company grow?
Okay, so background, I started out studying engineering in Nigeria. Happened to have graduated with a first class. Top of my class, I was feeling really happy, etc. But I felt I needed to know more. I wanted to acquire more knowledge. So I had this opportunity to study in the United Kingdom, and that exposed me to a broader world of technology that involves building aircrafts, helicopters, running driverless train systems and building energy systems. So it was super, super interesting. I was having a time of my life. I had this fantastic work opportunity in Italy. I was working in Saudi Arabia. They were flying me first class. First time in my life I was flying first class anywhere. And so it was great work experience working with colleagues from the US. We had some projects in Honolulu, etc. So it was super, super interesting. But I felt there was this big gap in my life. And that gap was that I didn't want to end up as just an engineer. I wanted to be an engineer that understood business and that could use business principles to drive engineering solutions. So I went over to get an MBA because I knew I had some gaps in accounting, in finance, etc. Ended up finding out that I really loved those topics and they were super interesting. So my first job outside of the MBA was at Amazon as an operations manager, where I had fantastic opportunity to manage tens of millions of dollars of Amazon deliveries on a monthly basis. This was super, super interesting. But then going back home, I saw that some of the things that in the West people were enjoying in terms of modern ways of retail, modern ways of buying things online, modern ways of distribution and supply chain management, they were absolutely not existent in Africa. Of course, when you look at South Africa or you look at a bit more on the Northern African side, you probably see more development. But the rest of sort of like the sub-Saharan African chunk, the middle chunk of that, you wouldn't really see any kind of optimization. So this was the real core driver for me. I felt with the experience I had had across engineering, across sort of Amazon's kind of business, e-commerce and the online business, I felt there was a big need to come and solve similar problems here in Africa. The food business was just the right example because I had the background already Um, uh, it was the space that had the biggest need for that disruption. Typically, I'm not sure whether you're familiar with how they buy things here in Africa. You go to a typical open market and you go and bargain. So you probably want to buy a kilogram of tomatoes, but you probably would end up spending 1 hour just bargaining for 1 kilogram of tomatoes. Super inefficient, not hygienic. You'll
Yeah.
potentially not get the good price anyway, and you're also not sure of where you're getting the products from.
Right.
So it was just a natural fit for me, given my background as well as what my co-founder had done. It was just a natural step.
Now I mean, obviously, the globe is living in the most epically unique historical moment with the pandemic, and food is definitely a big concern. In the States right now, meat is, I mean, it's a big concern because in the meat packing districts is where a lot of individuals are testing for the virus, and they're testing positive for the virus. A lot of individuals are the high anxiety of going to markets at all just to shop. I mean, just like we don't want to go to the markets, we don't want to deal. People that are working at the markets are getting sick because of the individuals that are not taking care of themselves. How is it in Nigeria with, I mean, what is being done to make sure that the quality of food is being taken care of so that way it's the healthiest? I mean, I'm not saying correctly, but what is the best way for individuals to get healthy foods right now during this pandemic?
It's online. It's absolutely online. Unfortunately, Nigeria had not been prepared. We have a very large population of people who are not even tech savvy at all, or who don't even understand this so-called online shopping methodology. But the best way is really online. You go on your phone, you place the order, and you wait. Unfortunately, some of the early players in the sector have not, they've not put the sector in a shining light. So quality has been a major concern. So people don't want to shop online because they're not sure that when they shop online, they're going to get the good products that they ordered.
Right.
They're not sure that that the pricing is great. There's this misconception that when you shop online, it's supposed to be more expensive. It's actually supposed to be cheaper because you're operating on a lower cost base, etc. So you've got those issues, but the best way really is online. Luckily now we see quite a number of companies that are now going online. Popular supermarkets are going online. Businesses like ours are getting to expand to other cities and other states. We're getting a lot of hits from other cities. For us, this is just the best time for us to expand and to preach the message and to evangelize and say, guys, just use your phone or use your laptop and you have the same experience.
What are you finding for your team? So, I mean, your company is how old, and how many people are on your team right now, and how are you taking care of them with their anxieties?
Yeah, so we're a roughly 2.5 year old company. We've got a team of 15 people, 11 full time and 4 part time. How are we taking care of the team? I think we're doing our best with social distancing. We're doing our best as well with making sure that people sanitize, they come to the office, they wear nose masks, they do their best to protect themselves at home as well as during their commute to work, etc. When they come in, some of them go and just wash themselves and just clean their hands and things like that. But to manage the anxiety, it's really based on us having a sense of mission, realizing that we are actually sort of in essential services and actually trying to support other people. We do our best to make sure that our people get paid decently well. We don't miss our payments, even though we're a startup. We don't miss salaries. We take a lot of premium to that. If people did the work, they need to earn their money. They need to be able to live a decent life. Once in a while, we could have some 1 or 2 birthday parties in the office where people just come in and just share 1 or 2 things. We do have pep talks in the morning where we try to motivate one another. Um, and some of this for us are really not just because of COVID. They're basically the fact that when you live in Africa, you need that extra sort of motivation to be able to move forward. So
How are you taking care of your clients? Right now, they're thinking about their businesses, they're thinking about their families, they're overwhelmed. They're trying to figure out, are we going to see tomorrow, the next day, and not just because of our health, but our business that we've worked so hard for. A lot of family-owned businesses. How are you able to reassure them that your services will actually provide, the services that you provide will actually be there for them, to make sure that they have their livelihood?
I think one of the few things we've done is that we've always been there. We've always been out there. People send us messages, and it's very funny. Middle of the night, you get messages from people asking one or two questions about what we need to do. We've always run this sort of open communication sort of channel where you might be communicating with customer service, but you are actually talking to the founders. You might be, sending a message, and then one of the founders just picks up the phone and calls you and says, "Oh, hi, you have this problem. We heard you cannot pay. Let me walk you through the process." So we're not leaving this just to the individuals who are supposed to be getting work done, but we're also pulling in and making sure that we're visible on social media. We do send messages that sort of like get people to get very comfortable, that you can find nutritious meals, you can find the best. We've gone very deep into fresh now, especially after COVID, just to provide people with the full experience, going as far as northern Nigeria to source a lot of fresh fruit just to bring them over to people. So
The farmers are in Africa, it's definitely, the agriculture is number one. I feel like that's number one business. Yeah. It's smart, it's savvy. There's no need to go to another continent to get the food. The education of growing food has evolved dramatically, where there are more individuals that are getting into agriculture, not just owning a farm, but also in the technology, etc. If someone would come up to you and say, I'm ready to start my own business, whether it's in agriculture or something else, but I want to stay on the continent of Africa. I want to make sure that I contribute. What would you say as a individual you were in corporate for years, and then you decided to create your own startup business? What would you say to someone that is desiring to do it, not sure, and what are the pros and the cons of owning your own business?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a different ball game.
It's funny as we both laugh because we're like, oh yes, that question.
It's an absolutely different ball game. There are no certainties, there are no guarantees. I would say that first is that they need to make sure they don't run out of money. Never run out of money. You're in Africa, you're trying to make big bets, you're trying to be super innovative, be very, very frugal with capital. I think one of the major things I learned from Amazon was that frugality, which is going to get a whole lot done with very little resources. So which means you have to do trials in most cases. Don't jump with both feet into the water. Get a stick or get someone else whose story you can learn from, who jumped into the water and what they learned before you dive in. I think probably also important is the fact that because capital is not as abundant as you would have in places like the United States and the United Kingdom, etc., and in Europe, people have to be more innovative within a very constrained box, which means like currently we're building 3 technologies, and we're building these 3 technologies with the support of 3 developers. Nobody does this across the world. Of course, we've got advisors, we've got tech support and tech experts who are giving us information and telling us what are the best things to do. But I think the Ubuntu sort of concept helps us to get more done in Africa, which is when people truly decide to collaborate, the impact is usually massive. Majority of us were not trained to collaborate in Africa, to be honest. Our educational system didn't prepare us for this. It prepared us to be individuals. During uni, I probably had just 1 single team project in Nigeria. Of course, when I went
even in your MBA program, because MBA programs are known to have people working together in groups.
Yeah. So when I went abroad and did the MBA, we had more team projects. But I'm saying when I schooled in Nigeria here, So I did my undergrad in Nigeria, and all of that, I probably just had one team project. And it was just, okay, guys, let's split the work and let's mix together and let's just patch it up and let's just submit it. There was no real team or collaboration. So I think that that's super important for somebody who wants to come and run business in Africa, which is you have to find people with team orientation. This is very hard. You would find a lot of very smart people, you find a lot of very motivated people, you find a lot of very driven people, but you would hardly find people with that team orientation. People who are not just fighting for their own corner, but are fighting for a collective goal with a mission, with something really cool. It's a major challenge.
You said something about Amazon that you learned from Amazon about being frugal. Can you elaborate a little bit? Because people don't think, when they're thinking frugality, they're not thinking Amazon.
The problem is majority of the people from outside don't really understand Amazon as a company. For people who work inside Amazon, so I was an operations manager. I was a manager at some point managing 300 people. So the ratio of one manager to 300 people gives you an idea of that level of frugality, because you're just one guy and you've got to make sure that this 300 people deliver every single day they come. You have to put in place processes and standards, and you have to be a pretty strong leader who can lead a team to achieve a specific mission. But at the same time, you also don't want to be the guy they don't want to see tomorrow.
Right.
So it's the kind of culture that allows you to. So I worked there not for a very long time, probably 1 year, 1.5 years, and within that period, what I was able to get done was sufficient for me to say I could start my own business and run it a lot faster than majority of the guys who worked for McKinsey and were running e-commerce in Africa. The kind of things we do here with data science, or the kind of things we do here with delivery or order delivery optimization and all this kind of stuff, there are things we do in a very frugal way. If you come to our shop floor, our warehouse, you're not going to find any complex furniture or high racking or stuff. We use pallets.
Which is,
So you, yeah.
well,
So
I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I mean, so it just gives you that idea that a whole lot is possible if you decide that you're gonna, get the biggest bang from your buck. When people see Jeff Bezos and they see the top leadership of Amazon, there's so much that those guys put in, a whole lot, so that people don't even understand they do, in terms of how deep they go. So there's this leadership principles, there's the 14 leadership principles of Amazon, where one of them says leaders dive deep. In other companies, leaders are advised to just stay on the surface, don't go too deep, let the other guys dive deep, let them give you information. But Amazon is saying dive deep, which means a leader, a regional director could go and extract some data about peak process, which is, it could be bizarre in other companies.
All right, so that leads me to the follow up to the next one. When you said you're running 3 techs, an entrepreneur, it is in our DNA to do many things at the same exact time. The multitasking is just part of our world. So you're running 3 tech programs on top of what you're doing, or in addition, like in combination?
Yeah, so we're trying to build an ecosystem. So what we started with, which is the foodlocker.com.ng, was essentially the backbone of that ecosystem, which is the sales engine, the growth engine that ensures that we can move a lot of inventory from the farms or from the consumer goods companies to the customers. Now we're building ecosystems around that. So for example, we have this program we call the Ambassador Program, which allows other people to refer customers to us. It also allows suppliers or people who know very good farmers to refer farmers to us in exchange for a fee. So this basically still funnels into the e-commerce platform, but it is a technology on its own. It's a standalone technology that allows us to do something different, but that supports us in doing the essential e-commerce thing. We've got another platform through which we're sort of streamlining the supply chains of smallholder farmers. This is something super cool. We recently just launched it, and we could sit in, I'm not sure whether you're very familiar with the geography of Nigeria. We could sit in
you know what? You'd be surprised, but I am.
You could.
No, thank you to my father, because I literally had to study maps all the time. So
That's great. So you could basically sit in Southwest Nigeria and have this technology platform that allows you to, on a day-to-day basis, manage production in northern Nigeria. This is the kind of technology we're building. And people would say, what if you're not getting the right information, etc.? We've built that into it, where other people are actually giving us feedback on the reports that that farmer is submitting to us. There's an ecosystem we've built around that ensures accountability, that ensures that people are remunerated based on results, that ensures that we can communicate with the farmers in remote areas without using the internet. Basically just using SMS technology and making sure that we get the information, and anybody across the world can see that via the internet.
love it.
And which then also means that we can support them with inputs. So a poultry farmer needs poultry feed, they need day-old chicks, or a rice grower needs seeds, or a soybeans grower needs seeds or needs fertilizer. We can supply all of that just by deploying technology. For me, this was something super cool that we did within 2 months, from concept to MVP, 2 months. And then which means—
So was that 2 months because of COVID, and now you have the time, you have the abundance of time that this idea came from? Or was it because it was in the pipeline of, oh yeah, we were going to do it anyway?
We were going to do it anyway. So we had already discussed this. In fact, we ran a pilot on this in 2018. Mm-hmm. So we that pilot basically drove us to do this, to build this, because we ran a pilot. We didn't have the technology to manage the day-to-day observation of what was happening on the farms, and we saw that we needed technology to actually facilitate this production. So a typical smallholder farmer in Africa doesn't have access to credit, doesn't have access to inputs, produces based on historical knowledge or cultural norms. My fathers used to grow tomatoes, I have to grow tomatoes. They used to apply this NPK fertilizer, I have to apply the same thing. Unfortunately, your soil type is probably different. The climate has changed. A whole lot of variables have changed. So they were basically doing what they knew how to do, which meant that they were constraining the growth, both of their businesses, but also of the sector. Okay. Which then means that there's this huge gap that we could use technology, and we could use a whole lot of players like the likes of OCP, etc., to come on board and support their own activities. So it was just a good fit for us. COVID was a blessing to us, unfortunately. I mean,
you know what? I'm hearing that from a lot of people, that if you see it as a blessing, I love hearing that you're saying it's a blessing, because I'm hearing more and more that people are not seeing it as bad for their businesses and for their growth.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unfortunate incident. It's a pandemic. People have lost their lives. A whole lot of people have gotten sick. Economies have been, jobs have been lost. Nigeria is probably going to go into a recession. A whole lot of countries across the world are going to, but we have just sort of been that kind of business that have been adaptive. We built the adaptability into the business. Whenever we want to hire somebody, we always ask ourselves the question, what if that job or that role that this gentleman is being hired for goes obsolete? Is the person going to fit into something else? Are they the kind of people who just want to do one thing, or are they the people who are adaptable? So which meant we've built an adaptable team. That then means that those people as well have an adaptation mentality. Yeah. So when COVID struck, rather than shut down, we didn't shut down. We had no reason to shut down. We were actually also lucky because of the way Nigeria is set up. The spread of the virus in Nigeria was not as fast or as rapid as in other countries. So we still had some room. Some states still had some wiggle room to run things. So we just took the bull by the horn and said, look, this is actually the time to support these customers. A whole lot of people are afraid. Let's make sure they're well fed. let's make sure they're getting the best information and not just, being fed with wrong information across the world.
Well, this is good because you just led into I love it. You're leading me from question to question. This is excellent. You talked earlier about how you, actually bring your camera down a little bit because now I'm only seeing your head. So I want you.
Oh, sorry about that.
There you go.
Okay.
So you talked about how your team, they're coming to work and they're being very cautious. So how is your community affected in regards of, are people able to function? Are you guys on lockdown? Are you self-secluded? I mean, every country is different. So how is it in Nigeria?
So it's sort of relative. The way Nigeria is structured, there are some cities that have very large population. So you've got like Lagos, Kano, and these are always also the kind of cities that have very large movement of people. So you have a lot of people coming in, a lot of people going out from those cities. And that basically meant that those cities were worse hit than other cities. We're in a sort of tier 2 city, which is about 2 hours away from Lagos, which is probably the most popular state or city in Nigeria. Lagos was worst hit, actually, because that's where the airport is. So the international airport is in Lagos. There's another one in Abuja. So those cities were worst hit because of the movement of people. But other cities were not on lockdown. So like Oyo State has never been on lockdown, which is where we operate from. Interstate travel has actually been sort of flexible a little bit across some cities. In some cities, there's absolute lockdown, interstate travel lockdown, no interstate travel, especially in those cities that had very huge spikes in the number of infections and the number of deaths, especially in northern Nigeria. So it's just a mixed multitude. You could imagine some cities were well prepared or better prepared than some others. Some cities were not so well prepared. The economy was not ready for that kind of shock because the economy has not been doing super well of late due to the fact that the economy, the diversification of the economy has not really worked, and which then means people are trying to just find their way. So it's a mixed multitude. It's a potpourri of different kinds of experiences. Yeah.
What have you done personally? Because you are running a business, you have a family, you were traveling like every which way. You were traveling so much. What are you doing during this time for you?
Doing for me a lot of meditation. Whenever I get the time, I do a lot of mindfulness meditation. Doing for me as well a lot of trying to sort of reflect on the truth. So there's a lot of so I listen to the news a lot, but there's a lot of misinformation out there. The impact of 5G on COVID or not, the fact that there were some masks that were erected somewhere and people are saying it's had some impact on COVID. It came from China, it didn't come from China. I think for me it has been just more about balancing my mind, trying to understand and get the real facts, and making sure that from a perspective of my mind, I was stable, I was balanced, and I could think straight. Because especially when you run a startup, the last thing you want to have, or the last kind of signal you want to send to your to the subordinates and the people who have come to build it with you, is that you have no clue. Somebody has to come on board and say, this is the time for courage, and you've got to have that courage yourself, or the right information yourself. And I think I've been eating quite some pretty healthy meals. Luckily, I have a family that cares about me. So
That's good.
So I get to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, which is super good for me. So from a diet perspective, I think I'm in a pretty good place. I could eat more if I walked less, but
I have to say that I definitely have added more to myself in the coming days, because and I exercise, but I sit still and I'm in front of the computer all the time. So I mean, there's definitely a little bit more of me to love right now. But
exactly. Like I think that the whole COVID thing and the fact that people were losing their lives brought more of self-reflection to say, what's really the essence of life?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to live a good life. I was able to now start also focusing on, okay, maybe I need to start building my own house.
Oh,
Here in Nigeria, people would usually either buy a house or build their own house if they have the money, or rent a property. I said, okay, okay, let's just start something. We've got this little time on our hands. I'm super excited. I wake up super happy here. So maybe it's great to build something.
wait. So are you seriously going to build a house?
I'm actually building it already.
Oh, you're. Hey, some people are making bread. You're making a house. It's okay. It's good.
I might not be a great mason or a great carpenter or a great welder. Well, at least I can put the people together. We can put together a good project management plan. It's been super exciting for me. So.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. If in a perfect world, everything goes away, like it's just like, I mean, we're at a new, and all of a sudden, COVID is gone. Perfect world. What's your tomorrow look like?
Perfect world. My tomorrow is laying on the bed somewhere on a beach, having a great time, getting some pina coladas or something into the system, and having some barbecue beside me. I just want to, I mean, I think the whole essence of life, I think COVID has taught us a whole lot, at least for the people who had the need to reflect, to really figure that, you know, yeah, all that you've really got is your soul, right? Like one day you're going to be gone. So you had better make the best use of the time you've got here. So
Absolutely, 100%. All right, last question. For all the people that are watching you right now, what is the ask? What is the ask for personally for you, and what is the ask professionally for your business?
personally, that's a little bit harder. I think I'll start with the professional. Hopefully, I'll get some ideas on what to ask personally. I think more professionally, I would ask more, that people open their minds to really see what's possible through a company like Foodlocker. There's so much that is possible. Every time I wake up with a whole lot of ideas. I start thinking about unconventional things we could do with the food sector. So you were talking earlier about the protein industry being disrupted in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot of companies that were experts or who had developed very strong capabilities in selling protein across the United States suddenly just couldn't deliver anymore. This is a fantastic opportunity for Africa to step in. We're not the worst hit continent across the world. There's still a lot of room for us to drive that productivity. And the technologies are already available. The capabilities are available. The people are ready. There's a large number of young people who could be getting solid work done that could feed the world. We could be potentially shipping out a whole lot of protein from Africa to Europe and this is not even about COVID and disruption. We're just talking about what is really possible. We've got so much of arable land in Africa that could potentially feed the rest of the world. So with this, and with the kind of ecosystem that the likes of Foodlocker are building, we have a very big opportunity to use technology to connect those big markets with the smallholder farmers who have potential, but whose potentials have not been realized because they cannot access superior markets. There are input suppliers that can come on board. There's a lot of capital out there looking for decent returns. And these returns are potentially possible in Africa. The production cost base is almost nothing. So professionally, what I'm just asking is people should open their minds. I'm available. I'm on LinkedIn. My name is there. They could reach out and just see, what are you guys really trying to do? What are you trying to solve for? And the opportunities are endless, really. Personally, that's a pretty much harder question to answer. I'm usually the shy type. I usually don't ask for things. I think I go out and I just take things whenever I want to take them. I think I'll just say that people should, they should do their best um, to absolutely watch out for the right information during seasons like this. I think the world is now fully connected. We're all connected. I had no idea I would know somebody called Jodi-Tatiana, from anywhere. It happened, we met in Morocco, Mass Challenge, Import, etc. The world is fully connected. So if you have the right information and you're taking the right decisions, it affects me. It potentially could open, for example, I wouldn't be taking this conversation, you call it conversation, I wouldn't be taking this, but for the fact that you thought about that idea. You felt it was a great thing to reach out to entrepreneurs during the season. And that's what I expect from other people as well, to just open their minds and just help us create a better world by each person going out there and doing their best just for the universe.
Oh, Mr. I don't know what to ask. That was a legitimately good ask. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. You know what? I'm sad that I didn't get to see you in Boston. I'm happy I got to spend time with you in Morocco in January. So I will see you again because I will
for
see
sure.
That's without a doubt. We are automatically linked. And you know that whenever you need me, you know I'm here for you because
thank you very much.
You do so much. You are so kind. You care about you care about the greater good. And I always say to people, I'm not Oprah. I'm not Oprah. I can have a conversation with my friends that I've met throughout my travels, and I can actually ask questions because I'm a curious child at any given time, and I will always ask questions, and I will never be afraid to ask questions. And every single conversation I have is me learning just a little bit more for Jodi to continue to be dangerous.
And thank you so much for doing this. I think it's super commendable. Someone with your profile, it's I feel like $1 million right now. So
you're so
thank you. It's so altruistic for you to be doing this. You didn't have to do it, and you just chose to do it. So when I saw your invite, I was like, for sure, I have to honor this. So thank you so much.
This was my, I'm not gonna lie to you. This is a way for me to catch up with friends too. So
it's great. It's absolutely
I get to catch up with you, and I get to share your story. Woohoo! It's a win.
Absolutely great.
And I get to be me. I get to continue to still be me and be silly. So I appreciate your time. I know this is like the end of your day versus this is the start of our day. So I appreciate you. When this is all over in the fall, I'm going to circle back and find out how things went.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for
you're so very welcome, Femi. Thank you very much, my friend.